Welcome to Jackie's Craft Table. Hello everyone, thanks for stopping by. In this video, I'm playing with some gouache paint from Arteza, and these are metallic gouache paints. I have the set of 12, and I'm going to be creating 2 cards with these paints. I've never used gouache paints before, so this will be kind of interesting and fun. But they are similar to watercolors, and I love using watercolors. However, they are a little more opaque and a little more thick, and when the paint dries, it has a matte finish to it. I also wanted to tell you about the giveaway that Arteza has going on right now. It ends on Saturday, April 11th of 2020. I will link to their video, but all you have to do is to comment on their video, and you could win $100 worth of their art supplies. I also have a coupon code for you in the description below my video, and it's good for 10% off your purchase at the Arteza online shop. So I'm putting a little dab of each color onto my butcher's tray. They call it a butcher's tray, but it's really for watercolors or gouaches. When you add water to your paints in this tray, it doesn't bead up like it does on a lot of surfaces. It gives you a nice pooling effect. However, I'm not adding any water to my paints for this technique. I'm using a piece of black cardstock and a stencil. I used some pixie spray on the back of my stencil, and this just helps to hold it in place. And then I'm just painting through this stencil. And these paints are a lot thicker than watercolors, and it gives you a lot of fun texture. I'm going in rainbow order with my paints. And the paints do seep a little bit underneath the stencil, but that's okay. I just love this effect. You'll be able to see it when I pull up the stencil. This stencil is called Tiles, and it's from Tim Holtz. It did warp the paper a little bit, but once it dries, it flattens back out. I'm cutting out this panel with a rectangle faux stitched die. And look how cute that looks. I'm also going to use another cutting die, and this one is from the In Love Arts shop. It just says hello. I cut it out 3 times, and I'm going to glue all 3 pieces together. This is just from some white cardstock. This gives my die cut a little more stability, and it makes it into kind of a chipboard sticker. I'm going to prop up my painted panel with some Arteza foam tape. I already put a piece of pink cardstock onto my white card base. Now I can just press that into place. And now for my sentiments. I'm going to adhere that with some liquid glue, and I'm just putting little dots behind my sentiment. And then I can just hold that into place for a minute until that dries completely. And that's all there is to this card. I just love the texture and the shine that the gouache paint gives to this card. On card number 2, I'm stamping out my images with some white pigment ink. This is a piece of black watercolor paper that I'm stamping it onto this time. I'm going to stamp it out one more time just so the image is good and dark on the paper. And then I'm going to jump right into my painting. I am going to use water this time to water down the gouache paints. These paints are still pretty thick, even with the water. This stamp that I'm using is from Ellen Hutson, and it's one of her Mondo floral stamps. It's really old. I've had this stamp in my stash for a long time. Hydrangeas are my favorite flower. I just love the range of colors they come in. And I love that they can have several different colors on one blossom. So because of that, I'm going to color it in with blue as well as some pink. I'm going to color in the stem green here. And then I'm even going to add some purple to this blossom. But I just love the metallics in these paints. They do dry matte, as I mentioned before, but they do have a really fun metallic shine to them. I know that Arteza has the regular gouache paints that are not metallic, and after this, I think I'm going to have to pick those up. These paints are a lot of fun. So I'm jumping ahead a little bit. This is just going to be a really fast video. I'm coloring in the leaf with a dark green and a light green. I'm coloring in the dark first, and I'm just coloring in every other stripe. And then I'll come in with the lighter green. And I'm not using much water on these either. If I had used more water, it would have allowed the paint to flow off my brush a little easier. But I'm still trying to become more familiar with these paints and learning how to use them. Next, I'm adding silver paint to the centers of each blossom. And it seems like you can layer these paints really well because the silver really pops off of my purples and blues and pinks. At first, I was going to have this be a no-line coloring piece, but I did end up changing my mind. I just wanted a little more definition to this flower. I remembered that I still had my stamps on the door of my mini Misty, so I decided to put it back into the Misty and re-stamp it with some embossing ink. I stamped it out several times with this ink, just because there is a lot of texture to this paint. And then I'm going to pour over some white embossing powder. And this is Alabaster White from Brutus Monroe. This is what I use a lot lately. Now I can melt the powder. I did allow my heat tool to warm up for a minute before I brought it to my paper. And I do this process one more time just to get the white lines nice and smooth and thick. My next step is to die cut these. I do have the coordinating die to this set because I love this one so much. I just had to have those coordinating dies. I'm going to tape that into place so it doesn't shift when I run it through my Sizzix Big Shot machine. And here it is all cut out. Oh, that looks so pretty. When you tilt it to the light, you can sure see the shine. So much fun. I'm going to use a piece of purple cardstock on my white card base. And I cut it a little bit smaller than my A2 sized card base, which is 5.5 by 4 1/4. I cut out a piece of black cardstock with a wonky stitched die, and I put that down on my card kind of wonky. I'm also going to use some foam tape behind these two pieces. And now I can attach these to my card. I just love how it looks with the black cardstock and then the purple cardstock behind it. And I'll have all of these products that I use listed below and over at my blog. I'm just trying to put the stem down so it looks like it's attached to the flower. And then I can press it down into place. My sentiment is another die cut. I cut it out 3 times again and glued the pieces together. And then I'm going to glue this down right onto my flower. For a finishing touch, I'm going to use some Nouveau Dream Drops. And the kind I'm using is called Fairy Wings. This really matches the colors in my flowers really beautifully, and it has a nice iridescent sheen to it. I'm just putting down little dots of this, and that finishes off card number 2. So make sure you enter the giveaway to possibly win $100 worth of Arteza art supplies. I have really enjoyed using Arteza's beautiful art products on my different cards, and you really can't beat their price point. Thanks for watching, my crafty friends. I hope you all have a wonderful week to come. And make some time to sit down and craft, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you again very soon in another card video. Bye!